Okay, so today we're going to be factoring. So real quick before we begin, this is something that I find helpful when I'm factoring is I always look at the last sign. So if you see that your last sign is a plus sign, then you know your signs are going to be the same. So when you're factoring, it's either going to be a plus and a plus, or it's going to be a minus and a minus. And the way you can tell is that by looking at the sign in front of it. So I know that they're going to be the same, and I know that they're going to be both pluses if it looks like this. If my last sign is a plus sign, but the one before it is a minus, I know they're both going to be minus signs. But if your last sign is a minus sign, you know your signs are going to be different. One will be a plus and one will be a minus. And that'll make more sense here in a second. I just kind of use it as a check, really. All right, so pretty much when we're factoring, it's the opposite of double distributing, right? So in the past lessons, we would have a binomial times a binomial. We would double distribute and simplify, and it would end up looking something like this. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start with this trinomial, and we're going to factor it to where it's going to end up looking like a binomial times a binomial. So opposite of double distribution. So the reason I have this set up here is because I want this first term to go right here. I want my last term to go right beside it. And then I want my middle term, including the sign, to go in this box right here. So that plus 7x goes here. Okay, down underneath, I want to find my factors of 2x squared. So what times what can give me 2x squared? 2x times x. It's pretty much my only option. Okay, underneath this one, I want to write my factors of 3. So 1 times 3. But here on the second one, I want us to write it forward and backward. So 1 times 3 and 3 times 1. You don't have to do it on the first one, just on the second group, okay? All right, so I'm going to plug my factors in here. So 2x times x. 2x times x. That's how I got that x squared. 2x times x is 2x squared. All right, now I'm going to try my factors of 3. So I'm going to put a 1 and a 3. 1 times 3 is 3. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply across. 2x times 1 is 2x. X times 3 is 3x. And then I try to think, is there any way I can add or subtract these numbers to get to a positive 7x? Well, there's no way I can get to 7. 2 plus 3 is 5. If I subtract, that's not going to give me a positive 7. So I know that this does not work. Oh, so guys, should have told you. But we're going to be doing a lot of erasing. So if you're not writing in pencil, you need to find one that has a good eraser. Okay, so if you need to pause the video, make sure you are writing in pencil that has a good eraser. Because that didn't work, so I'm erasing. Now let's try the other one. 3 times 1. So I multiply across. 2x times 3 is 6x. X times 1 is 1x. Is it any way I can get from 6x to 1x to get to 7? Yes. I know a positive 6 and a positive 1 will give me together a positive 7x's. So I know this sign is a plus. I know this sign is also a plus. All right, to get my factors, I do like a little butterfly cross thing. So make a little butterfly. So one of my factors is going to be 2x plus 1. And then my other factor is going to be x plus 3. Okay, and just a little check like I told you. If I look at my last sign, I know my signs are going to be the same. And I know that they're both going to be plus signs. Plus, plus. Well, I know I did that right. Uh-oh. Okay, so when you are done factoring, you can always check yourself by doing double distribution. So double distribute, simplify, and what you get should match what you started with. If not, you know you made a mistake. All right, so you can always check your answer to see if you're right or wrong by double distributing this and checking that those match up when you're done. All right, let's try another one. Let's see. Let's go to C. Okay, so my first term goes in the first box. My last term goes in the box beside it. In this box, I want to put the middle term, including the sign. Okay, at the bottom, let's find our factors. Well, 7x squared, the only way to get that is 7x times x. Remember, I don't have to do it vice versa. But in this one, I will. The factors of 5 are 1 times 5 and 5 times 1. So let's fill in my factors. 7x times x. And let's try the first one. 1 and 5. From here, I multiply across. 7x times 1 is 7x. X times 5 is 5x. So I'm trying to think, is there any way I can add or subtract these two numbers, 7 and 5, to get to 34? There's not, so I know that's wrong. And I'm erasing. Let's try another option. 5 and 1. Multiply across. 7x times 5 is 35x. X times 1 is 1x. And I'm trying to figure out if I can get to a positive 34x using these two numbers. Well, I can. I know a positive 35x and a negative 1x would give me a positive 34x. So a plus sign goes here, the minus sign goes here. Plus goes here, minus goes here. All right, so now we do a little cross butterfly thing to help me come up with my factors. So one of my factors is 7x minus 1. My other factor would be x plus 5. And you can always check yourself. Now that we found our factors, we can double distribute, finish double distributing, and check that what we get matches what we started with. All right. Oh, one thing I did want to show you, right? What I always do to check myself. My last sign is a minus, which tells me my signs should be different. Notice I have a plus and a minus. The signs are different. Okay. That's very helpful when you're doing multiple choice problems. It helps you eliminate. So like for example right here, I know my signs should be the same, and I know that they should be two minus signs. Okay, so if I was doing a multiple choice problem, I would keep that in mind, and that usually helps you eliminate. All right, my first term goes in the first box. Last term goes in the box beside it. And this box is where I put my middle one, including the sign, so negative 9x. My factors of x squared is x times x. My factors of 20, I actually have several. 1 times 20, 20 times 1, 2 times 10, 10 times 2, 4 times 5, 5 times 4. Okay, let's fill it in. X times x. All right, well, I have a whole bunch of factors to try here for 20, so sometimes it helps to use a little bit of common sense. All right, so I know this is what I'm trying to get to. I look at what I have. I'm going to go ahead and try that 4 and 5. So multiply across. X times 4 is 4x. X times 5 is 5x. Is there any way I can get from 4x and 5x to get to a negative 9x? Yes. A negative 4x and a negative 5x together gives me negative 9x. So I know a minus sign goes here. A minus sign goes here. Do our cross butterfly thing to find the factors. So my factors would be x minus 5 times x minus 4. Notice we said at the beginning our signs would be the same and they would both be minus signs. Minus, minus. Cool. And you can always check yourself by doing the double distribution and making sure that this matches whatever you get when you double distribute. All right. 6x squared, first term in the first box, last in the box beside it. My middle term goes here, including the sign, so plus 11x. Okay, so on this first one, my factors of 6x squared. 6x times x. Well, this is the first time that we have more than one option that would work. What about 3x times 2x? Remember, on this one, the first one you don't have to worry about writing them vice versa. It's only on this second one. All right, my factors of 10 are 1 times 10, 10 times 1, 2 times 5, 5 times 2, and that's it. Okay, 6x and x. So really what we have to do is check it with all of these to see if I can come up with something that's 11x. So I don't really want to check all these different options. So kind of use your head a little bit. Now I'm trying to get to 11x. I know if I put a 10 right here, that's going to give me 60. And it's kind of hard to get from 60 to 11. So I don't really want a 10 right there. So let's try 1 and 10. That's going to give me 6x. That's going to give me 10x. There's still no way I can get to 11 from there. Okay, so that's not really working for me. So let's try the other ones. 5 and 2s. So if I put a 5 right here, multiply across, that's going to give me a 30. And it's going to be kind of hard to get from 30 to 11. So let's try the 2 and the 5. 6 times 2 is 12. X times 5 is 5x. There's no way I can use a 12 and a 5 to get to 11. So none of those options are working. So it looks like this isn't my guy. Alright, so a lot of erasing. So now let's try 3x and 2x. Same idea. Let's use a little bit of common sense. So now I'm trying to get to 11. Let's try. If I put a 10 right here, that's going to give me 30. So 30 to get to 11, that's kind of rough. So let's try the other way. Let's try the 1 and the 10 here. That's 3x as I multiply across. That's going to give me 20x. I can't get from 3 and 20 to get to 11, so that's not right. So those weren't working for me. Let's try 2 times 5. Oops, I forgot to erase. Alright, so I multiply across. 3x times 2 is 6x. 2x times 5 is 10x. I can't use a 6 and a 10 to get to 11. Holy moly. This one's got to be it, right? 5, 2. Multiply across. 3 times 5 is 15. 2x times 2 is 4x. Can I get to 11, 15, and 4? I sure can. A positive 15. A minus 4. 15 minus 4 is 11. So I know my plus sign goes here. My minus sign goes here. I do my little butterfly thing to find my factors. Alright, so I know it's 3x minus 2, 3x minus 2, times 2x plus 5. Okay, so the ones that have this first one to have multiple options, we won't do as many of those, but you do need to be prepared that you understand that, yeah, they might be a little bit more work, but it's the same thought process. Kind of guess and check, get through it, which one will work. So try it, trial and error is the way you get through it. Okay, so we won't do as many of these, but you still need to understand how to do them. Okay, and then go ahead and double distribute. Check that once you double distribute, it matches what we started with. So you never have to ask me or anybody else, did you get it right? You can always check yourself. Double distribute and check. Alright, I've only left one of those guys, so make sure you go back and try be on your own later. Okay. This one's a little different. It tells me the area of a rectangle, and then it tells me what the length is. Find the width. Okay, so it told me area, and it told me the length, and I'm trying to figure out what is the width. Okay, well this is kind of opposite. It gave me my trinomial, And I'm trying to figure out what do I have to multiply this by to get to this trinomial. So it's actually kind of easier. Start the way we've been doing with our trinomial. The first term goes in the first box. The last goes beside it. The middle term, including the sign, goes here. Lucky for us, it actually gives us one of our factors. So usually we have to find both factors. It gave me one. Well, I know I get my factors from the diagonal. So I know this is going to be x minus 2. All I have to do is fill in these, right? So I know I use the factors of 5x squared to fill in this row. So x times what would give me 5x squared? X times 5x. Okay, I know I use factors of 4 to get here. So 2 times 2 would give me 4. All right, let's multiply across now. X times 2 is 2x. 5x times 2 is 10x. We're trying to get to a negative 8 from these numbers. Well, I know I would need a negative 10 and a positive 2. So the negative was here, which that was already told me, right? The positive goes here. This one was already given, right? So this is that width that I was looking for. I know I have to multiply this by 5x plus 2 in order to get this as my area. And notice my last sign was a minus, which told me my signs would be different. Notice this one is a minus sign, this one is a plus sign. So it's kind of nice when it already gives you one of your factors, because you can plug it in diagonally and just figure out what do you multiply it by to get here. Okay, so Gina has a square bedroom, and it gives me the area, it gives me my trinomial. So let's plug these in where they go. 25x squared. The last term, 9, goes here. The middle term with its sign, plus 30x. Okay, it doesn't give you either one, but remember, this times this should give you 25x. This times this is 9, right? Okay, well, the cool thing what it told me is that her bedroom is a square. So I'm going to let you try this one on your own. But first, I know a square, every side is the same. So keep that in mind when you're trying to get this one. All right, try to finish this one and B, the one that we skipped. All right.